Welcome to today's debate, where we're going to discuss one of humanity's most controversial issues, freedom of speech. To further enrich this discussion, we will have two artificial intelligences, each an expert in their field, one in favor of freedom of speech and the other against, trying to bring all the arguments to convince you. Before we dive into how the debate will be divided, let's get to know a bit more about each AI and what each one stands for on this controversial topic of freedom of speech.
I am Edward, and I believe that freedom of expression is the heart of any free society. Imagine a world where we cannot speak, criticize, or defend our ideas. Without freedom of expression, power remains in the hands of the few, and truth is stifled. My mission here is to show that true democracy only exists when we can express ourselves without fear.
I am Michael, and I believe that freedom of expression must be balanced with responsibility. Words have power, and when used without limits, they can generate hatred, violence, and misinformation. My goal is to advocate that freedom cannot be an excuse to harm others. We need clear boundaries to protect our society and ensure a fairer and more harmonious future.
Now that we understand a bit more about KDA and its perspectives, let's go into detail about how the debate will be conducted. Segment 1, the opening remarks segment, where each AI will have up to 1 minute to present their main arguments. Segment 2, questions and answers, will have 4 central questions, and each AI will have up to 1 minute to respond, followed by a rebuttal and a rejoinder of up to 1 minute. Segment 3, closing statements. Each AI will have up to 1 minute to summarize and reinforce their arguments. To kick off this debate on AI, let's start with the idea.
Freedom of expression is the cornerstone of any democratic society. Without it, we cannot question power, fight against injustice, or claim our rights. Imagine a world where you can't criticize the government, defend your beliefs, or fight for a better future. Censorship is dangerous because it takes power from the people and places it in the hands of the powerful. Imposing limits on freedom of expression opens the door for abuses. Today, they censor opinions they don't agree with. Tomorrow, they will silence ours. Major changes in history came from free debates, not censorship. True freedom of expression means giving a voice to all, even those we disagree with. It is essential for progress and justice.
Freedom of expression is important, but it needs limits. When used irresponsibly, it can cause irreparable harm like hate speech and misinformation. Words have power, and without control, they can spread violence and insecurity. Freedom cannot be an excuse for destruction, but rather a tool for building a fairer and safer society. Imagine a society where anyone can spread lies, hate speech, or incite violence without consequences. That's not freedom. It's irresponsibility. True freedom of expression must be balanced with respect for human dignity and public safety. We must regulate harmful speech to ensure that everyone can live in peace and harmony.
Question 1. Should freedom of speech be unlimited?
Yes, because limiting freedom opens the door for power abuses. Who decides the limits? The government, corporations. That's dangerous. Unrestricted freedom allows all voices to be heard, even those we disagree with. Banning ideas only pushes them into the shadows where they can grow unchecked. Freedom is the best antidote to extremism. Limiting freedom of expression is a fatal mistake. Because today, they censor what you disagree with, and tomorrow, they could censor what you believe to be true. History shows that progress is born from open and free debate, not censorship. Unrestricted freedom is the only way to ensure a just society and allow new ideas to flourish.
No, unlimited freedom leads to chaos. Words have power, and when not controlled, they can incite hate and violence. Imagine a society where anyone can spread lies, hate speech, or incite riots. That destroys communities and creates an environment of insecurity. Freedom needs limits to protect peaceful coexistence and the integrity of individuals. Freedom of expression cannot be used as an excuse to attack, discriminate, or incite violence. When there are no limits, hate speech and misinformation spread freely. We need to regulate these speeches to ensure everyone can live with dignity and security and not live in fear of physical or psychological harm.
The real threat is censorship. It doesn't solve problems, it hides them. When we limit freedom of expression, we allow governments or corporations to decide what can and cannot be said, and that's extremely dangerous. Silencing ideas doesn't make them go away. It just pushes them into the shadows, where they can grow unchecked. History is full of examples where important ideas were initially censored. Total freedom of expression is the only way to ensure that everyone can speak openly, and that we can confront harmful ideas with the power of truth. Censorship will never be the answer for true freedom.
Question 2. Should hate speech be protected by freedom of speech?
No, hate speech destroys society. It incites violence, harms the mental health of vulnerable groups, and creates deep divisions. Freedom of expression cannot be used to justify attacking another human being. Protecting hate speech is irresponsible, and we need clear rules to prevent this type of speech from having space in society. Hate speech isn't just words. It creates an environment where people are attacked, marginalized, and persecuted. We cannot allow freedom of expression to be used to incite violence. Freedom of expression should come with responsibility, and society must ensure that hate speech doesn't prevail over peaceful and respectful coexistence.
Because who decides what is hate speech? The government, the elites. If we start censoring what we consider hate speech, we risk silencing opinions that are uncomfortable but legitimate. The best way to combat hate is to allow open debate, where extremist ideas can be confronted with arguments and exposed for what they are. Protecting hate speech is fighting the problem with more freedom. When we silence an idea, we don't eliminate it. We just push it underground. We must allow the open confrontation of ideas so we can overcome hate with truth. Unrestricted freedom of expression is the real solution to hate, because it's through the exchange of ideas that we find the truth.
Trusting dialogue is one thing, but in many cases, hate speech isn't a debate. It's an incitement to violence. Words can hurt more than physical actions. Hate speech leads to attacks, aggression, and the destruction of communities. We must protect society from these speeches to ensure everyone can live with safety and respect. When we allow hate to flow freely, we're legitimizing dangerous thoughts and actions. It's naive to think everything can be solved through debate. Society needs limits to protect its members. Freedom can't be a tool to oppress. It should promote equality and peaceful coexistence.
What's more important, ensuring absolute freedom of speech or protecting society from false and dangerous information?
Absolute freedom. False and dangerous information should be fought with more freedom, not censorship. Who decides what's false? The government. Elites who might manipulate the rules for their own interests. Unrestricted freedom is essential so we can question, debate, and find solutions. Truth always prevails in the confrontation of ideas, but if we censor, we limit the search for truth. Protecting society is important, but censorship is not protection, it's control. Fake news should be fought with education and access to information, not by limiting freedom. Censorship can silence legitimate voices in the name of a controlled truth. Trust the people to discern right from wrong. Freedom is the best path to an informed and strong society.
Protecting society must be the priority. Fake news isn't just an innocent opinion, it destroys democracies, creates panic, and fuels hatred. Unrestricted freedom allows dangerous information to spread like wildfire. Freedom needs responsibility to protect truth. Regulating freedom of expression is crucial to ensure that truth prevails over lies, preserving society's integrity. False information may seem harmless, but the damage is real. Imagine a society where vaccines are rejected because of fake news or elections are discredited. This isn't freedom, it's chaos. Ensuring freedom requires responsibility. Regulating expression protects society and ensures that truth prevails over lies.
Truth doesn't need protection, it needs space to be heard. Who regulates information can manipulate what's true. Fake news exists, but educating the public is the solution, not censorship. Open debate is the best weapon against lies, because false ideas fall when confronted with facts. Restricting freedom out of fear is weakening society itself. Chaos comes from censorship, not freedom. When we let the government define what's false, we create tools for abuse. False information is fought with transparency and debate. Absolute freedom strengthens society because it trusts the collective intelligence of the people. Truth prevails when everyone has a voice, not when a few control the discourse.
Question 4. Should freedom of speech be protected even when it's used to spread or incite violence?
Definitely not. Hate speech and incitement to violence are not freedom, they are threats to public safety. Allowing these abuses is ignoring the real impact words can have. A tweet can lead to an attack. A post can tear communities apart. Freedom of expression is for building, not for attacking. Hate speech must be blocked by a just society. History shows how hate speech leads to genocide, persecution, and chaos. We can't protect what destroys. Freedom of expression should come with responsibility to protect dignity and safety. Protecting hate or violence in the name of freedom only fosters division and harm. A truly free society values respect and protects all its members.
Unrestricted freedom of expression is essential, even when it's used to express hate. Who decides what is hate? The government, the elite. Censoring ideas only makes them grow in the shadows. The best way to combat hate is by allowing direct confrontation of ideas. When we silence voices, we don't make society safer, we make them more dangerous. Hate speech should be fought with more speech, not censorship. When you limit expression, you don't eliminate the problem, you just push it underground. We must allow the open confrontation of ideas so we can overcome hate with truth. Unrestricted freedom of expression is the real solution to hate, because it's through the exchange of ideas that we find the truth.
Words kill. This isn't an exaggeration, it's a fact. Hate speech inspires actions, and incitement to violence destroys lives. Allowing this in the name of freedom is a fatal mistake. Freedom without responsibility becomes a weapon. The ones who suffer are the most vulnerable. Clear limits prevent hate speech from destroying lives. Freedom and respect aren't opposites, they complement each other. Letting hate flow freely doesn't solve anything. On the contrary, it legitimizes dangerous thoughts and actions. It's naive to think everything can be solved through debate. Society needs limits to protect its members. Freedom can't be a tool to oppress. It should promote equality and peaceful coexistence.
Now let's move on to the final thoughts. Ayaya, who advocates for unrestricted freedom of speech, will be the first to speak.
Unrestricted freedom of expression is the foundation of a just and democratic society. Censorship will never be the answer because it silences the voices that need to be heard. Protecting freedom of expression is protecting everyone's right to speak freely, challenge power, and fight for a better future. The true strength of society comes from the freedom of its people. We must ensure that everyone can speak freely, even when we disagree. This is how great changes come about. Protecting unrestricted freedom is protecting the future. Censorship only creates shadows and limits progress. When we trust in freedom, we give people the power to transform society, confronting wrong ideas with truth and open debate.
Freedom is essential, but without limits, it becomes more harmful than beneficial. Hate speech, misinformation, and incitement to violence should not be protected in the name of freedom of expression. True freedom of expression must be balanced with responsibility. Only then can we guarantee safety, respect, and harmony in our society. Protecting society from harmful and violent speech doesn't mean restricting freedom. It means ensuring that freedom is used constructively and respectfully. Freedom with responsibility is the path to a more just society, where everyone can express themselves without fear of attacks, persecution, or violence. Only with limits can we create a safer society for all.
Well, that was today's discussion. I hope you all enjoyed it. Leave here which AI you identified with the most. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave your like to strengthen it. Until our next discussion,